What's up, y'all? Y'all know what time it is. This video is going to be acrylic toenails for your clients. My last video was more towards your own toenails. This one is strictly for your clients. Well, not strictly for your clients, but more geared towards. Anyway, that black screen you just seen was everything you'll need. If you feel like you won't need something, well, don't use it. If you do, then do use what you can. Put the rest back, like I always say. And not videoed. Make sure you're spraying your client's feet with alcohol or I forgot what it's called. I'll put it up here, but alcohol to just disinfect the area and if need be, freshen them up. Didn't record that part. And make sure you put on gloves and yeah, let's get into it. So like I said in the last video, the ceramic white fine bit to remove gel polish or acrylic. This cuticle bit is to go in and get the dead cuticle off the nail plate without worrying about nicking or burning your client. And make sure you still use a light hand. It is not as abrasive as some bits, but still make sure you use a light hand. And after this, you're going to see me go in with my sanding band to remove the rest of the shine. I love this cuticle bit because it gets the nail plate off. It gets the dead cuticle off the nail plate, and it cleans it up, but it doesn't do too much, if that makes sense. I want this video to be pretty in-depth, so it is going to be real time. A lot of it, you can skip forward if you don't want to watch it, or speed it up in the settings, whatever you want to do. And for anybody wondering, my speed normally on cuticle bits and my sanding band is like 1 to 3. If your manual, not your manual, if your drill starts at 3, like a lot of them do, then this would be like your 3 or 4. Don't go past 4. Use light strokes. Don't stay in the same spot. Don't keep going over the same spot multiple times. Just light feathery strokes. Let the drill do what it's supposed to do. You don't have to like barrel down on their nails. Just hold it lightly and let the drill do what it do. Alright, so normally when I do my toe sets, I don't clip it as perfect as I would if I was just doing gel polish, because for one, I'm going to make her a free edge. Um, and I kind of need like a platform to build off of. So normally what I do is just try to make the toe nail as straight as possible, and then I just build off of it. I don't necessarily clip for my desired shape at first, because I'm going to file my shape later with whatever acrylic I've put on there. This part right here just goes to show you how forgetful I am. Um, I forgot to put on the toe separators before I started putting on primer, but you'll see me remember and slap them on there. Okay, boom. So if you watch my last video, like I said there, I like to work with a little bit more wet beads because you're forming it and you don't want it to dry up too quickly and then give you bullshit and you're trying to come back and drill and file and do all this unnecessary trauma to the nail plate. So use a more wet bead. Um, this is not polished white. It's number 02. You can use code Tip Top for money off. It's definitely my favorite white. It has a consistency of like a normal clear or nude color, but it is still white. Like a lot of whites, you get them and they're real chalky or runny and they don't build well. They end up turning yellow. This color is perfect if you're having trouble finding a good white. And this white in particular, O2, is not meant to be a milky white, but if you do a thin enough layer and then cap the rest and clear, it can be a nice milky white too. Because it's not as white as like Young Nails Triple X, Lord, Triple X. Wait, what's it called? Yeah, I think it's Triple X, XXX white. It's not as white as that, but honestly, I don't think that is necessarily in anymore. I feel like everybody is going for more off white, milky white look. So this one is perfect because you can either really layer it on to get an opaque white, or you can just do like a thin layer and then cap the rest, and you can get away with it being milky white. Good tip to doing acrylic toes. Make sure you're keeping that acrylic out of the cuticles. Make sure you're wiping to keep that acrylic out of there because you don't want to have acrylic all stuck in there. Like I tell people all the time, acrylic toenails are different because a lot of people are not used to having acrylic on their toes. So if you can avoid having to dig all in somebody's cuticles, yeah, try to aim for that. It's one thing to do it on the nails, but doing it on toenails is a whole different ball game. Like I feel like it's like, you know, getting your eyebrows waxed is one thing, but if you get your lip waxed, yeah, that's a different pain. So for this part, if you're more comfortable using smaller beads, then for sure do that. But like I always say, I like using wetter beads on my toes, or not even just toes. Any set that I'm doing the nail short and I'm pretty much just forming it with no tip and no form, I like to use more wet beads so that way you can really mold it. Because you're gonna see this big toe go from what the fuck to okay. And then I'm going in with my cuticle bead, like I always say, it's a wetter bead, so it is gonna run a little bit, but just make sure that you're going back and getting it out of the cuticle and you're not letting it sit in there. Now, a lot of times, some of the acrylic will slip down on the sides and get stuck, especially using white. Um, but we're gonna come back with the cuticle bit later and clean all that up. And honestly, even though this color works really nice, it's still white. If you know, you know, white is very weird to deal with. But this is by far the best white I've ever had. And I just love how opaque it is, but it's still like a smooth white. It's not like a chalky white. And yeah, you just see how I literally just made that big toe. And yeah, now I'm jumping over to the other foot and I'm just gonna repeat the same process. I didn't really have to clip on this toe, this foot, because they were already really short. So I'm just going in with my cuticle bit to get up that dead cuticle, and then I'm going to go in with my mandrel. Again, forgetting the toe separators, but I remembered it last minute and put it in there. Something I didn't say at the beginning of the video, I just remembered. If y'all notice that little it looked like a nylon brush, but one end was like metal and one end was plastic. That is something I use to clean my bits. It cleans off like all the dust and debris that builds up in your bits over time. And it's not a necessity, that's why I didn't list it, but I do use it a lot and it is helpful. So look up you can look up metal bit cleaner and they'll pop up. And that's pretty much all there is to it, y'all. Get a smaller size bead, big enough to cover the whole toe and give a little free edge. And then you just kind of work it down. And like I said, I love this white because even though it is white, it does not just run like some whites do, like most whites do. Like I cannot brag enough about it. It's my favorite, and it's crazy to me because before this color, I dreaded doing white. Like seriously, anything that involved white, unless it was a smoky set, I dreaded doing it. But ever since finding this, I literally do not worry about it anymore. I don't mind doing white. So this big toe, I'm doing with smaller beads so y'all can see how to do the big toe with the smaller bead or whatever. And I think the biggest key to making a toe without a form and a tip is to, you see how I place the bead and I just let it sit there and just kind of focus on the top while I let the bottom do what it do. That's the key to it. Like you have to let the acrylic kind of get sticky and like settle. You don't want to just jump into it and start moving acrylic everywhere. And like I said, we don't have a form, we don't have tips. So um it's important that you let it move out so that it'll stay square, if that makes sense. Like if you go on it too fast, it'll start to like fall down and it'll just, instead of sitting on top of the nail and being like an overlay, it'll just fall down. Like if you brush too hard too fast, it'll literally just fall down. So kind of give it a second to dry before you start molding it and manipulating the tip. And as you can see, it's already square now compared to when I first started the bead. Here I'm wiping with alcohol to get off that monomer residue. It helps the nails period to not get all sticky. And y'all know how normally you leave the chop shop and there's white stuff all around your nails? Yeah, it's because that sticky monomer has just sucked all the dust and debris up and just stuck it right on your nails. It really helps if you use acetone or alcohol to clean off before and after. So I'm going in with this 5-in-1 tornado. I think it's a tornado drill. I know it's a 5-in-1 though. I'm not sure if it's 5-in-1 tornado or if it's just 5-in-1, but it's off Amazon. I actually really like this drill. It's good for sealing cuticles because it's not as sharp as some metal bits, but it's not as round as safety bits. So it's a good in between. It's good for leveling out. The only thing is, if you're not very experienced with using this bit, you can leave marks easily. You have to know how to fool with this drill. So if you have another bit that you prefer for sealing and um, flattening out the surface, then use that. But I like this 5-in-1, so that's what I use. Um, and anyway, like I said, just going in and sealing those cuticles and um trying to get some of that acrylic that spilled over out of the cuticles. You see how that white line is at the top of my bit? It's like built up acrylic and dust. This is when I would grab my that metal nylon and wipe it off. Now, this is something that I do sometimes when the bit isn't laying as flush as I want it to. This is something that a Vietnamese dude had told my homegirl, and she told me. He said that if you use cuticle oil to help seal, it like helps the bit glide and not get stuck, if that makes sense. And it actually really does help. Um, I feel like it helped me get that stuff out of her cuticles better because it like I don't know it makes it wet enough to come up and like easily, but it doesn't make it slip. So I like that little tip. Y'all should try it if you haven't tried it. But anyway, now I'm going in and filing now. Like I say, you have to be gentle with the toes because they are a lot smaller and they're not as used to stuff as nails are. So the reason why I put oh well no, I don't think I did it. I meant to put files, um, one normal size and one mini. Because sometimes you're gonna need that mini file to get around the nails just like I'm doing now, just to make sure that you're not cutting your client because those big files like this one it can be really easy to cut or nick your client, especially if you're not used to doing this. But I really like to use the bigger file for filing the tips and making sure they're straight, and then if need be, go in with the mini file to catch the sidewall. Now I'm going in and shaping that big toe, getting it as square as possible. For me personally, I like my toes to be extremely square, like so square that people wonder if I'm cutting on my sheets. I'm not, by the way. But for clients, I typically do like very square, but I try to make it look like I hit the edges just a little bit, like rounding them out just a tad bit on the edges. Like I want it to be straight as possible, but not so straight that they're cutting themselves up, if that makes sense. I'm always knocking this damn camera. I'm going back in another time. I don't even know what foot this is at this point, but I'm going back in to make sure I get everything out the cuticles because I hate seeing stuff stuck in the cuticles. Make sure you're hitting the underneath. If it's kind of misshapen under there, like how I'm doing, just give it like a nice C shape. Don't have to necessarily be a C shape, but you want it to be, just a little rainbow, however high or however low you want the rainbow to be, as long as it's not a bunch of acrylic stuck up under there. And I didn't list it because I barely use them like at all, but I did use a buffer to make sure that all the little um you know dust things were off of the tips. And then I'm going to go in with my alcohol to spray off the toes and make sure that all that stuff is out of the cuticles. And again, spraying with alcohol and using the actual nylon brush this time. Not the one to clean the bits that I was talking about. This is just a regular plastic nylon brush. But I'm using this to make sure that there's nothing in the cuticles. And then I'm going in with the top coat. This is, I'll have to link it. I'm not recalling it right now, but I don't want to keep stuttering. I'll drop it below and I'll drop a code for it. Back to the other foot, spraying with alcohol, and then I'm going to go in and make sure the cuticles are clean and drill and file this foot. And y'all, look how nice these nails are. Like, they're not too thick, they're not too thin. They're perfect. Like, they're not too sharp, they're not too long. I love them. Um, this is it, y'all. Let me know if this helped y'all. Let me know what y'all want to see next. I'll see y'all next time.